सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय, महायोगी स्वामी उमानंद सरस्वती की जय. Friends, we did try and do the video for on Zoom 2 days back, but due to internet connections, we were unable to uh, get the complete video. So I was again asked to do it separately for YouTube. So we are taking the same topic, God. It's my favorite talk, and it's been my PhD subject too, comprehension of God. We're not going to go into those details. We're just going to try and see exactly, because all of us those who are studying spiritualism, they are very they need to have some clarity about God, about seeing God, about Him being there. I'm referring it to God as a male entity right now. You could call any male, female. It's like water, whether it's an ocean or whether it's a river. It's a female reference or a male reference. The content in it is the same. So similarly, energy, Chaitanya, is the same. So, but right now, since I'm used to calling him uh, God, though I have my guru is a lady, but well, we'll just stick to something, and let's see what in Bhagavad Gita Sri Krishna has to say about the concept of God. First of all, he says, God is neither a creator, nor a sustainer, nor a slayer of universe. Now, this is something um, we may not be able to, because we are used to hearing that He's the creator of the universe. But He gives over the entire responsibility of this creation to Prakriti. We'll call it matter, spirit and matter. So when we talk about God, let's say we are talking about spirit, and then we will talk about spirit and matter, or Chaitanya, we'll call it. But spirit is something we can relate with right now. So spirit and matter. So God says that I am not the creator. Spirit is not the creator, the sustainer and slayer. The matter is responsible for it. So matter is what is responsible creation. Therefore, we probably relate with it, the matter around us as the universe, as the world. However, he says another very important thing about it is he says, neither am I responsible for your sins and your merits. For both, he doesn't want to take the responsibility. He says you are responsible for it, for your sins as well as your merits. So uh, we have to learn now where to catch him. We have to know where is it going to be that we are going to meet God. It's very important that we know about it. Thirdly, he says, I don't even know my own size and expanse. What is the meaning of Brahmand? Brahmand means a continuously expanding uh, entity or element, something which is endlessly growing. That's Brahmand. So, where is this? God also says that even I don't know. I seem to be also sort of my expanse is huge and I myself don't know its nth limit. Nth limit. So, if I don't know myself, how could Ved speak about it? So, it's not easy to know God. But yet, all of us, right from childhood, a layman, a common man, an uneducated and educated philanthropist, all of them are able to speak about God. Why is it so? Because He's done a very beautiful thing. He's left a clue for us. God has left a clue for us. And what does He say? He says, anytime you are surrounded by something wrong, something unhappy, something sorrowful, some grief, and you are unable to deal with it, and you call me, at that time I shall appear to save you. This is the biggest clue. यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत. The shlok in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, it tells you, he tells you, he says, when is it he going to come to you? He says, anytime you are in serious trouble. One. Second, that there is a stronger evil power than you and you feel weakened about it. And thirdly, he says, you do approach me, you do call me, you turn to me for support. He says, I shall never disappoint you. I shall be there. And this is not an individual you, an entire world, anyone in the universe, anyone in the universe can try this. You need to turn to him totally, and God says, I'll be there. Because he says, I have come down to earth with a vow. What is that vow he's taken? He has taken a vow to save the good and to destroy the evil. This is a very beautiful clue, and that is why all of us know him. Because right from childhood, we must have had our small little petty problems. We must have had problems of going for an exam when we are unprepared. Or we must be coming back and scared to be beaten by our parents. Or we must be scared of meeting some friends who are going to mock you. So every time these small little problems come, we tend to turn to God. We tend to turn to God and we say, God, please let this exam be postponed. I had a very beautiful example, I shall tell you. One of the devotees in the ashram, they had, she had come and she had offered a small donation for uh, meals on the next day. We had Guru Purnima function and she had offered some small donation and she said that this is for tomorrow's, one of the dishes of tomorrow. So, and then just next day, I think there was her daughter's results, and the daughter did not clear the year. And the student was an engineering student, and suddenly I got a phone call. And she said, my daughter hasn't cleared, and I'm feeling very bad. Just yesterday, I offered some donation. So I felt very guilty, as if, uh, well, some people do relate these things, but that's okay. We are humans. So even me, I was on my knees praying, and I told my guru, I said, she's offered some donations, and we are supposed to have the meal today. I'm supposed to include that. And now if she's asking, I'm feeling answerable to this. The girl has not cleared. I said, I'm feeling answerable to it. So if you could please help some way. Luckily for me, the third day I received a call that the university had taken decision not to keep back any student and they just allow them to go to the third year but clear the paper. So the exam got cleared. Now this is a very a beautiful relationship because we are all the time we get into some trouble. Human being. You see, we are all the time getting into some trouble. And we have our demands are very small. The servant has not come, the rickshaw has not come, I'm getting late, the train is not on time. There are small little problems. And suddenly we think of God. Yes, that is what He has promised to be there for us. And that is why it's a beautiful truth. God is a simple, beautiful truth. Some arrangement made by nature where we can turn to Him and gain some strength to deal with situations. It could be out of faith in God that we could draw some strength from the universe and deal with the situation. So it's a very beautiful truth. And I think that is the highest beautiful truth in the world, uh, that we could turn to somebody unseen, unknown, unbiased, and be reassured that the help will come. Yes, that is why it is there is one text Pratyabhijna Hridayam which says is cognition and recognition as far as God is concerned. We know Him somewhere. That's why we try to meet Him. That's why we try to see Him. Maybe we have come across Him in our last birth, or if not last birth, even from childhood onwards. So for petite little problems, we turn to Him. And at that time, we are so innocent as children. So our appeal is very innocent. We don't even see Him around, and yet we call Him. We call Him. There used to be a time when I was less than 10. I used to sit in my room, and since my name was Anuradha, Radha was a part of my name. I used to always relate myself as Radha and Krishna's beloved. And then I used to keep some butter because Lord Krishna used to love butter. And I used to keep it in front of my Lord Krishna's idol, my mother's Lord Krishna's idol. And I used to close all the doors from inside. And I used to call him and weep and say, please come and have this butter. This was some sort of, but that simplicity, that innocence of that age, it adds to the entire strength of faith. And believe it or not, one night I did have him in vision. He came and stood near me, tapped me, and he said, you call me often. Come, let's get up and play. And then, of course, I was scared. I was scared. And, but I did see a boy of, say, 10, 12, or 13 standing near me. Well, that's the beauty. It's an honest, it's a beautiful truth. I think that's all I would define God as a beautiful truth in the human world. It's a beautiful truth in the human world to which we can turn anytime and draw strength to deal with situations. I think that could go as my definition also for God. Then uh, he has taken a vow to safeguard a good man and to punish the evil. Krishna says, I have come on earth to safeguard the interests of sadhus, sages, or the good people, and to destroy the evil. It is very necessary that somebody takes this responsibility. Now, there's a very beautiful when he comes, what all can happen when in such way he has intervened in your life somewhere, even as a child, if it has intervened in your life, then what really has happens in a human world, in a human life? What would have happened to me or to you if you have met him somewhere you are not well and you recover, and then you realize that it could have been bad, but you have just recovered. So after that, what happens? It's like a new birth in your life. It's like a new phase. If the situation is very critical and you have come out of it, then you get a different personality in you starts building up. Let's see what this personality looks like or is. First thing is the ignorance about God is removed. Now we are definitely sure, yes, that this power exists and can come to help us anytime. It can come to help us. So we start looking at this unseen entity and accepting the supreme truth as a part and parcel of our life. It's a very beautiful thing that happens when this ignorance is removed. It is removed and we start accepting it. Then second thing that happens in our life is we stop doing anything which is not right. We somehow tend to build up in such a way that we don't want to do something that is wrong. Well, it's not that there's nobody there to punish us or there is no one, but somehow you start picking up right things in life and you stop doing wrong things. It's a very beautiful change in you which comes over you. A change comes over you. And that's very important. A change comes over you. First is ignorance is removed. Ignorance about God is removed. You start accepting Him as a very reliable source. A reliable source. It could like a parental source that you could rush to your parents and talk to them about your problems. Something similar to that. You can rush to this little picture, the photograph, or the idol in the house, and then tell that, all right, this was the problem. Can you look into it? And then you start relating and talking as if it is a real entity, real person. Yes, but that faith in you is what is going to work. This acceptance of supreme truth is what is going to work for you. And then you stop doing wrong things because you feel answerable now to some little image in the corner of the house, in the heart. You start feeling responsible, and so you don't want to do anything that is wrong. Then third thing, not only that, he slowly, you start promoting him unknowingly, knowingly. You start promoting or talking about him to somebody who's the first closer, then to somebody who's then in problem, or somebody around you, and slowly you start as if you are holding the torch or the flag in the name of the God, in the name of the God, without realizing it. All this happens to us very easily. Once he steps into your life and try and solves one critical situation in your life, the life changes. That is where you meet him. That is where you meet this supreme, the beautiful truth. I'll call it the beautiful truth. Okay? Now, devotees they start holding the flag of righteousness because they keep on telling everybody you better be right because I'm sure somewhere the God will come to help you. And I used to remember I used to have about 18, 19. I used to talk about my guru to people, and I had an elderly person in our distant family relationship, and he says, "What is the difference between uh, you and with this faith and a man who is drunk?" I was like stunned. So he wanted to tell me that you're talking as if you are highly drunk. So I like, but I was graced by them. So I had the courage to say. People won't ask him for an address on the streets. They will ask me if they get lost and if I'm there. So, well, something like that. The people will then rely upon you for some advice. So that's what how the change comes in your life. Okay, change comes in your life. The fourth change is your discriminating power becomes bright. You're able to discriminate. Even today, we have the discrimination between right and wrong. But still, there are certain situations where you are not able to be sure about are you really doing right or not. Sometimes we don't have, and then sometimes when we are doing wrong and we are tempted to do wrong, and we try to convince ourselves that it is right. For example, if you have had a fight and you have been mean, then you try to convince yourself, no, 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 I think I was right. I think I was right. This way, you are trying to convince yourself because even if the discriminating power is there in you, you are not surrendering to it. You're not accepting it. But once you meet God in some way, in some intervening way, God's intervening way, then you are able to make up your uh, mind correctly about the right and the wrong. And you are able to choose the right. That's important. Not only knowing about it, but you are able to now choose it. Then the fifth very important thing happens is sins vanish. In your life, the concept of sins is something because you become aware. You don't want to do something wrong. So gradually the sins start perishing, vanishing, and getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And your merits may go up. Merits may go up. Now, so God says there are a few ways of attaining me. Because if God, if He's going to, is stepping into our life, is going to make such beautiful changes. Don't you think you'd like to meet Him? Yes, I would like. So He's given us now some options. They are very beautiful options. First, He says, you can use the power of devotion. Of course, we all know what is devotion. We are devoted to our parents, to our country, to our children, to our husbands and wives, partners, friends. You know, devoted. There's a sense of loyalty. There's a sense of fondness. There is a sense of affection. There is a joy when you meet. So all these are various shades of devotion. Devotion. The name could be closer to love. It can be closer to many other feelings, but we all know what is devotion. So something like that, we should have devotion for God. He or she is not just a need. He is somebody who is a very loving friend. We can call, yes, a Sakha. A Sakha. For Krishna, he was a Sakha of Arjuna. It's a very beautiful term, Sakha is friend. Just yesterday we had this friendship band. So why not we send a friendship band to God? Happy Friendship Day. I think it's a very beautiful idea. You'll have one of the best friends in the world. This is a very nice way of. So he says, devotion is one way you can attain. You can have me come into your life. Then there's one more he gives. He said, fear. If you are ever afraid, also, you can turn to me. You can turn to me. Then third, he says, enmity. My God, how generous God could be. He's willing to even accept enmity. He says, just as long as you hold it against me, till so I'm tempted to convince you of the right. And because of that, we tend to meet again and again. So very many, all these Kans and Ravan, all these who were demons, giants, and they were evil forces. And because they kept on meeting, approaching him knowingly, unknowingly, consciously, unconsciously, subconsciously. And somewhere they related and they ended up meeting. Of course, they met death at his hand, but it was that the death at the hands of God is like liberation. It is like liberation for the evil from his evilness, from his evilness. So this is beautiful. Then he says dispassion. And dispassion is a slightly harder way. So he says devotion is an easier way. Instead of rejecting all people in the world, it's easier to love all of them equally. I think that's easier. Instead of being away from all the people, being nice to everybody and having them as friends around you is an easier job. Is an easier job. So more than dispassion, devotion might work easily for common people, for most of them. But some people believe in dispassion. It is a path, but he's willing to meet even those people. He's willing to meet. Then he says there's another fifth way, it's knowledge. Yes, you can study about him. You can read about his works and you can have the feelings risen up. You respect him. You adore him. You admire him. There are so many shades of affection. You can adore him, admire him, respect him, love him, look upon him as um, your need, as your friend, whatever you want. But it's a beautiful truth of the world that there is somebody we can turn to and from which we can draw strength to deal with our difficult situations of life. We can turn to somebody and ask for what our desires and ambitions are. Yes, we need to work also. We had to work also, but along with work, we need some sort of, you call it fortunate, you call it luck factor, you call it anything, but it's a beautiful truth. I think I'm going to define God as beautiful truth. I think I like that because, um, yes, it's supposed to be a universal truth, but I'll say it's a beautiful truth. Then he says there's love. God is openly asking for the love of a devotee. It's a very beautiful, I mean, yes, it's a nice feeling. If you have someone to love you, don't you think you'll be happy? Yes, I think love is a very beautiful feeling. And similarly, God also, he brings out the human element in himself. He says, for a person, a mortal on the earth, I don't mind having his or her love. Yes, there are various shades of love for God also. There is a Madhura Bhakti where the gopis had love for him. They were wanting him as his friend, as their friend, as their love. There is a love of Yashoda, the love of a mother. Then there was a love, even love of friends. He had Sudama was one of the friends. So various ways you can relate with God. You choose. You choose. Um, and then there is also another last way he says is, oh, you can choose to serve me. What a commanding status that is. He's willing to accept the service. So he knows what he is. He knows what he is. The supreme truth knows what he is. So this is a very beautiful emergence of. I'm so glad I took up this topic again because I'm able to today define God in simplest way. Is let's not worry about the God particle and all. I think it is a beautiful truth of human life. It's a beautiful truth in human life from where we can drive energy to deal with our situations in life. I think I would like to name that. And out of these feelings of devotion, fear, enmity, dispassion, knowledge, love, and service, I'm comfortable with love, devotion, and serving. I'm willing to love Him, I'm willing to serve Him, and I'm willing to be devoted to. Um, well, my ways are knowledge, no doubt, but I think a service in the form of service to Him. If I'm studying something, it is so that I can spread His name and His philosophy to the world. And I hope that is accepted by my Guru and my God. This is Swami Radhikananda from Pune. Friends, that was my Zoom talk actually, but because we could not cover it, I have made a special video today, and I hope you have liked it. Swami Radhikanan from Pune.